March 7, 1945, Remagen, west bank of the Rhine. Cold wind, the smell of gunpowder. The water runs heavy, grey, like liquid steel. On the horizon, a lattice arch, the Ludendorff Bridge. Smoke rises in black strands, sirens, the distant hum of engines. 20mm machine guns bark like metallic whips. High on a slope, a German lieutenant peers through binoculars. He laughs. A short, dry laugh of someone who trusts the river and the rocks. "Nobody crosses the Rhine under our guns," he tells a sergeant, never taking his eyes off the steel. Behind him, 88 Meteor's artillery fires. They calculate distances. They adjust fuses. On the radio, a hoarse voice, "Let us reach the central span, then sink the bridge." On the other side, American soldiers emerge from among the ruins. 9th Armored Division. Wet helmets, soaked raincoats. An engineer from the 51st Engineer Combat Battalion holds a laminated map and points out the currents. He doesn't smile. The current is going 2 meters per second, depth 8 to 12 meters, double anchors, 3/4-inch cables. Without these, nothing stays. The first shot falls short. Water forms a column, the second hits the parapet. Rivets fly like iron bees. The Germans laugh louder. The Rhine, they say, is a Roman moat, the last wall. An enemy without ideology or mercy, physics. What they didn't know was that on that day they were witnessing the beginning of their own end. The monster isn't a tank, nor a bomber. It's a screwed-up idea. Cross any river under any fire in any weather. It was born years earlier, in the wet training grounds of Tennessee. Officers of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers measure currents with fluorescent buoys. They invent routines, they time stalls. "Our bridge is a time factory," a captain writes in 1943. "Every minute saved here becomes miles gained there." Two systems become the core of the doctrine, the M2 treadway and the Bailey Bridge. The M2 is brutal and practical. Pneumatic pontoons, attached to sections of steel track, each about 5.5 meters long, locked together by pins, supported by beams, forming a carpet over the water. Class 40 capacity, 3.6 meters wide, enough for Sherman's 2.5-ton trucks and 155 mm pieces. 900 kilos anchors deployed upstream, steel cables tensioned by winches, assault boats with 2250 HP engines pushing bay sections into the current. The British-born Bailey is modular elegance, 3 meter by 1.5 meter panels, diagonal bracing, connecting pins, rollers and launching flaps. It's assembled on solid ground, pushed on floats or fixed on wood and steel supports. Single, double, and even triple configurations, increasing capacity to class 70. No crane. Use men, jacks and willpower. The manual says 12 men, 5 minutes, 1 panel. The manual lies by a few minutes. On the Moselle at Dornau, September 1944, the system failed. Strong currents. Crossfire. Boats capsized. A dry report. The anchors were torn off. Attempt aborted. Heavy losses. At Arneville, they learned. Bigger anchors. Double cables. A continuous smoke screen. 8 hours of difference. A world of results. Still, on the eve of Remagen, there was skepticism. "Crossing the Rhine without commanding the sky is asking for death," said a colonel. "Watch out for explosions caused by joint debilitation," warned a major, pointing to the M2 manual. The Rhine's current is unforgiving. There would be debris, logs, unexploded ordnance, and ice. No one imagined that this apparent failure carried the seed of victory. The first confrontation wasn't against tanks, it was against water and steel. Between March 9th and 10th, engineers began launching the first M2 bays upstream of the Ludendorff. Each floating bay had to be held against the current. Assault boats rumbled, a high-pitched, stubborn, 2-beat sound. A sergeant shouted over the wind, "Corporal 1, lockpin!" An artillery whistle responded. The boom was sharp, the floats rocked, 2 men fell into the water. The radio screeched, "Loss of 2 pontoons. Primary anchorage has given way, pull back 30 meters." The reports gain a pendulum rhythm. Launch. Lose. Launch. Current stronger than predicted. 2.3 ms. Anchor dragged 80 meters. Float hit by shrapnel. Replacement in 14 minutes. Every half hour the Germans bring up more fire. Nebelwerfer howls from the east bank. The sound is ancient, like a wounded animal. The 80-meter search for the silhouettes of the boats. And still, bay by bay, the carpet grows. 7 bays, 13, 18, a nuisance, but real. Then the public shame. March 17th, 3 p.m., Ludendorff itself gives way. The steel, worn by bombings, sabotage, and excessive traffic, bends, creaks, and falls. 28 engineers die. 93 are injured. The water swallows iron and men in a brown whirlwind. German radio exults, the Rhine remains undefeated. In the diaries, a bitter sentence. It seemed senseless. The bridge we had had become a ruin. The one we wanted was born under ruin. The enemy was right, for now. The turnaround had no trumpets. There was smoke. Chemical companies erected a continuous, oily white curtain from dawn to dusk. Smoke machines running on heavy fuel oil formed a wall 200 meters wide by 30 meters high. The Rhine disappeared. German observers saw a world of cotton wool. The clock became an ally. Technically, they adjusted the method. Larger anchors, weighing 100 kilo, with double mooring and slack calculated to absorb tension spikes. Deadmen anchors, ground anchors in trenches on the bank, complemented the chain anchors. 90-millimeter cables, a tensioner with high-ratio pulleys, and winches synchronized by hand signals. Each bay received 2 safety boats, each with hooks for immediate rescue. The team standardized. 8 men per bay, a block leader, a radio, and a timekeeper. 12 minutes per installation. Factory business, wrote a lieutenant. Humanly, something else changed. Stubbornness became method. No solitary heroism. Only correct repetition, said the 51st Commander. The 291st Engineer Combat Battalion, a veteran of Bastogne, took over the floating Bailey downstream. Panel after panel on pontoons, the Americans restored British precision. The 291st Diary noted, "We are not building a bridge. We are building an algorithm." And there was a small stroke of luck, the wind. On 3 decisive mornings, the breeze pushed the smoke eastward, right over the German batteries. The gunners began firing by sound. Greater dispersion, fewer direct hits. Invisibility became an advantage. The lieutenant's laughter vanished into the fog along with the bridge. In its place, reports of dread. "The enemy has built a tactical bridge despite our fire," a German artillery major reported. "The flow of vehicles is continuous," a radio operator noted. "The British call it Bailey. The Americans call it treadway. We call it impossible." The numbers are staggering. The upstream tactical M2 was operational in about 16 hours of effective assembly, with interruptions. The downstream floating Bailey, about 1,040 feet, 317 meters, was ready in just over 32 hours. In 24 hours, more than 8,000 vehicles crossed the 2 steel and rubber corridors. In 10 days, more than 125,000 men and 25,000 vehicles crossed the Rhine at the Remagen bridgehead. M4 Sherman tanks, 41-ton M26 Pershing tanks, Dodge trucks, ambulances. The cadence of the engines over the plates sounded like a non-stop drum. The Rhine, the Roman moat, became a boulevard. The Luftwaffe tried. Arado 234s dove past at 700 km/h. Me-262s spat bombs and fear. But American anti-aircraft batteries, 90 mm with proximity fuses, raised a metal dome. "Intense, white, precise fire," noted a downed German pilot. "They looked like burning fences in the sky." V-2 missiles were fired at Remagen. They fell far away, with more terror than effect. Sabotage swimmers came with hollow charges. They were caught by the current, the lights, the searchlights. In the German reports, the tone changes. The enemy engineers operate with coolness and method. They are not bridge builders. They are a weapon. In the OKW, a hard line, the Rhine crossing at Remagen will have very serious consequences. The word "very serious" descended the ladder to the lieutenant on the embankment, and he stopped laughing. What was built in Remagen wasn't just a bridge. It was a living doctrine, a manual that said, power is rhythm, rhythm is production, production is freedom applied to time. Technique, the M2+. Bailey combination provided redundancy. If one gave way, another supported the flow. Duplicate anchoring with angles calculated by the watercourse reduced peak load in the bays by up to 30%. The banks, treated with gabions, timber and sandbag aprons, stabilized access. Caterpillar D7 and D8 bulldozers opened ramps, while 10-ton cranes positioned sections. Traffic was regulated by MPs with clipboards, maximum speed 15 km/h on the M2, distance between vehicles 30 meters, no stopping on the central span. 2 maintenance carts were on constant patrol, carrying rivets, pins and flashlights. Every screw was a discipline. Tactics, smoke, counter-battery artillery, flak, all integrated. The chemical companies maintained a screen for up to 18 continuous hours, replenishing heated oil in improvised boilers. 155mm artillery marked German batteries as they opened fire. Counter-battery radar adjusted the return. River patrols with boats launched depth charges against saboteurs. The radio didn't stop. Redundant A, B and C networks, relay points, simple codes. The fatal mistake would be to stop. They didn't stop. Strategy. With the impossible bridge supporting traffic, the bridgehead grew from 1.5 km to 10 km in a week. 4 divisions crossed, then 6, then 9. The maps of Field Marshal Model's Army Group B began to resemble oil slicks pushed by water. The Ruhr, the industrial heartland, was exposed to a pincer movement. In April, the Ruhr pocket closed. 325,000 German soldiers surrendered. A rubber and steel bridge tore a hole in an economy built on steel and coal. Philosophy. The bridge is the opposite of the bunker. The bunker promises permanence. The bridge promises passage. A regime that idolizes the fixed laughed at passage. A society that relies on industrial improvisation bet on movement. Engineering here is not ornament. It is argument. Freedom is modular, an engineer later said. You fit panels, people and ideas together. And cross. We return to the embankment, the binoculars, the laughter. The German lieutenant who bet on the river no longer has a bridge to see. He has a flow. Trucks, tanks, ambulances, jeeps. Each rubber keel is a verdict. His 88mm still fires, but now the sound gives back more than it takes away. It echoes in unstoppable American steel. On the western side, an engineer from the 291st pulls off sodden gloves and rubs his eyes. He's no soap opera hero, he's a B-17 block chief. He counted bays, adjusted cables, repeated. It's just one more piece, he says, tapping a Bailey joint. Just one more piece. Over the German radio, a final note. The enemy is crossing at many points. The Rhine is not a line, it is a lost obstacle. Model reads and falls silent. The newspapers that promised an inviolable Rhine are buried under columns of surrender. They laughed when they first saw her. They called her impossible. They stopped laughing when they realized the sound of laughter mingled with the thunder of defeat. The cadence wasn't of aircraft cannons, but of winches, engines, boats and presses. The music of free industrialization overlapping the march of ideology. In the end, what does a bridge represent? That power isn't just strength. It's compressed time, it's adaptation. It's the courage to build under fire because someone needs to cross. That freedom, when organized, builds with the precision of a factory and the stubbornness of a river. And that tyrannies, however lofty, can't swim. The thunder spoke and the river was never theirs again.